one of the main reasons that has made most of South Africans not to be happy about the industry, in particular when you go to an issue of unemployment, is because of it's an issue also of the security that our members they are facing within the industry. There is a lot of incidents in different areas. I would call the issue of Cape Towns, in KZNs, where in freeways, on gunpoints, some of the trucks are being hijacked. Even if I may have a gun, for an example, I'm not allowed to take the gun into an employer's property.
So today, we are joined by praiseworthy comrade Nzibande, a seasoned comrade, serving as an organizer of the Democratized Transport, Logistics and Allied Workers Union, in short, DETAWU, and has played a pivotal role in raising awareness of workers' struggle in the most vulnerable industries. In this discussion of today, we are zooming in on the transport and logistics industry, and he has played a very pivotal role in transforming the industry to be what it is today by simply making sure that the workers' interests in these industries are represented to the core. Welcome, comrade. Gokeli.
Yes, ma'am.
How are you?
I'm good. Morning. How are you?
I'm glad that you have decided to actually join us. I think this time has been long coming in terms of really us having a discussion about one of the most important industries that really does contribute, as I had indicated in my introduction, that it contributes to 46% in the economy of this country. But a lot of people do not understand what we're talking about when we talk about transport and logistics industries. Perhaps maybe if we could be able to start our discussion, Gokeli, in this forum. What are we really talking about when we talk about the road freight industry, transport, logistics, etc.?
Yes. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning to the viewers. I think first of all, it is very important to acknowledge the importance of this industry. As you already stated categorically that this industry is a pillar of our economy, moving goods from point A to point B, link the economical in terms of transport within Africa as a whole. But the more important is that this industry, I always define it as it has got almost three pillars in terms of this sector. One of it, it's a road freight, those big trucks, which we called them in our term that are taut liners and flat decks. Either some of them, they also transport goods like steel, food, and so forth. And also there's another part which is, we call them as a courier. Those ones are small vans that transport parcels. You can say your laptops, your phone, and so forth. The other one is an industry that we call it an CIT, the cash in transit. The ones who transport cash from ATMs and so forth. So these three pillars of the industry, they work in conjunction in terms of to deal with the issues of the economy. As you all know that for me and you to go to the shop, there must be some goods at the shop. So obviously the road freight will be depending on them to deliver those goods. But more and more is that this industry, I think also is very important to indicate that it's been transformed, because it's known as an industry whereby only men that are usually driving trucks. So today we've got women, sisters, the young people who've got a lot of interest within the industry. As I said, that is an industry that has been known as, if I may, sorry to use the word, an uneducated people, which is, we differ with that sentiment, because if you look at this industry, you need a lot of experience It needs a lot of people who can understand, who can read. Today we are using some instances like we are no longer using papers. We went to digitals where we use so-called it's scanners and so forth. So you cannot use that particular an object if you are not in that level of an education. So this industry has been transformed in such a way that people that are working within this industry, they need to obtain a skill and a certain skill that is very much important rather than driving. As I said, that you must have to read, you must have to write, you must understand even the cargo that is in the truck, because for you to load and offload, you must know that what did I load? Is it offloaded correctly and so forth, so that the client can be very happy. So for me, I think that's what it's also very important to note out there, to say this industry, it is very important indeed in our economy.
So, comrade, I wanted to zoom in into a particular issue. I think everybody before the national elections that passed was quite alarmed when one day in this industry, on the N3 to Durban, there was a stoppage of trucks, and there was an issue that was actually raised. And alarmingly so, it was raised by an association that operates in road freight, if I can put it like that. And one glaring issue that they were talking about the employment of illegal foreigners in the trucking industry or in the road freight industry. And they said that, you can't say that is a scarce skill in this industry. And therefore, they wanted to actually perhaps maybe hold the economy into ransom, just to show that this issue is a serious issue. So what is your view, comrade, with regards to that?
Yeah, I think first of all, we need to agree that it's one of the challenge that we've been having within the industry itself in terms of the foreign employment, those who are illegally so being employed by employers. But based on that also, there is a move that the employers that they've went far step ahead to make sure that it's no longer being an issue to say these people are not documented. Because for me, being documented or not documented, it does not address the issue of a skill. And I disagree to say this issue is because of foreign employed is related to a scarce skills in South Africa. I disagree with that.
Tell me why.
I always say it's on the basis of the exploitation that has been adopted by employers. Either you are documented or not. Because if you come to this country looking for an employment, there are certain things that have been said by employers. One of it that we came across is that you must not join a union if you are an employee from outside. Once you join the union, the employer will make sure that your paperwork is not been renewed and all of those things. So it is confirmed that one of the main reasons that has made most of South Africans not to be happy about the industry, in particular when you go to an issue of an employment, is because of these employees that are coming outside of the country and being prioritized by employers. Because some of the employers, even when they employed this particular individual, they are straightforward to say we don't need the South Africans, we need the foreign employee. Further than that, the employers, they've went far even to make sure that they registered their own transport companies outside of the country, to try to run away from this issue of to say, no, the employees are employees within in South Africa. So they register a company, for an example, in Zimbabwe, they register trucks in Zimbabwe, then they take these people within the country and they come and work here. When you start to question that. They are saying, no, these individuals are not being employed within South Africa. They are just coming inside to take the goods and go outside with goods. But when you look at in general, these employees are doing locals. They are not doing so-called cross borders and so forth. So I think with also the assistance of the bargaining council in terms of to check this compliance, that is where the employers, they even went far to opt to say, you know what, let us be strategic.
So, leadership, you had indicated that in masquerading or in enforcing what they are enforcing, those employers, they would register companies outside the country for them to be able to employ people outside the country and bring them here to work. So what does that really mean? You were still unpacking it for me to be able to understand the context.
Yeah, I think what is more important to be understood is that the reason that has been taken by these employers, in our view, is to run away from so-called illegal employment within the country. For an example, to say, no, these people are employed outside of the country. They are just here to do that particular job and then they will leave. But at the end of the day, these employees are not leaving the country. They have been used all around within different provinces to do those certain jobs. Because as I mentioned, that the National Bargaining Council of Road Freight has been trying to assist to make sure that they enforce these employments, these laws into employers to make sure that they don't employ this illegal employment while they are using also or working hand in hand with the Department of Labor. But through to the steps that has been taken by the employer, it becomes so very difficult, which is also, I believe that as the industry, it's very important maybe to make some certain legislations. If I may make an example, before we used to have something within the industry of road freight 70-30. What was 70-30 mean? It means that the employer A must not employ the foreign employees, which is more than 30%.
Okay.
70% must be
Okay.
the local.
Okay.
So I think those are such a kind of the legislations that need to be fast tracks and being implemented, which is can assist us a lot in terms of South Africans not to be employed within the country within this particular sector. Yes.
So they register, get employees from there here. Are they paid in what currency, Ngokeni? I'm really interested in that.
I think it's a very difficult situation that we are facing, because if maybe I can touch to this another part is
Yes.
that there is even some, if I may call it, as an agent,
Okay.
sort of a labor broker that is being used by the employers within the country.
Okay.
One of the things that they do, this labor broker, the duty of a labor broker is to go and hunt these employees outside. And then once they've got these employees, they've got offices in Zimbabwe, they've got offices in South Africa, they will say these employees have been employed outside, as I said. These employees, even they pay them with these Zim dollars and all of that, depending on the country where they come from. They are not paid by the South African rands. So that is why we are saying the legislations need to be strengthened by the National Road Bargaining Council of Road Freight to make sure that we tried to switch the nuts in terms of what these employers are doing, because the employers are playing around in terms of to save the cost in the expense of the employees. As we said that the National Bargaining Council have legislation within its own scope in terms of how to pay the employees, what kinds of the hours of work they must work, and so forth and so forth. So once the employers, they've seen that, they opt to make sure that they drag these kinds of a labor broker so that they can work with them and don't pay these employees in terms of the South African rents. So that is another challenge that we are facing.
So, what is the impact of that to job creation in this country?
It is big. It is big because, as I said in the beginning, that we differ as a DETAWU that the issue of a skill, it's scarce in South Africa. We've got a lot of drivers within the country. As I mentioned, that we have joined by the women's, we have joined by the young people who have seen the opportunity within this industry. So the issue of a skill is not an excuse for me, but it's something that has been used to scapegoat the reality that the employers, they are not willing to employ the South Africans, and which is result to an issue of an unemployment growth within the country, because this sector, as we said, that it's a mainstream sector in terms of economy. I was unpacking it in terms of the pillars. So
Sure.
you will know that if you go into freeways, how many trucks, how many couriers you came across. Also, you go to CIT, you'll see how many different companies that are working around. So it is a very huge sector that can assist a lot in terms of employment. But as I said, that we need to make sure that at the National Bargaining Council, we make some restrictions in terms of not to allow the employer to do whatever they are doing that can result to the situation that we are facing.
So, the people that are taking up the fight, and that association that I alluded to in the beginning, where is organized labor? Where are the unions when an association that is representing a certain group of people that are unhappy with the current situation of the fact that, there's preferential choices in terms of employment, where people from outside are employed more than the ones that are in this country, even if it's not a scarce skill. Where is the union in this conundrum?
Yeah, the unions, we are there, as I said, that we made a joint venture with the National Bargaining Council and the Department of Labor, even to do so-called inspections within the companies. We go to truck stops, making sure that we check each and every employees that are there. So there is a work that has been done, but as you all know that every issues in South Africa is being politicized, and there are those who are opportunists, because there's a one question that I always ask to say, who are these individuals? Where they come from? If you track some of them, they are coming from the same so-called unions. And then either they went there because they will have internal fights, their own differences, issues of corruptions, the workers, they rise, and then they go and form so-called, that is an association. But the question I'm asking, if they believe that they can champion the issues of the industry, why they don't register and go and deal with those particular issues. So now it tells to say this is a scheme which is being used to take the literally what the workers they are having, because that kind of I don't even want to call it as a service that they are giving to these people, because they don't represent them in CCMA, they don't represent them in bargaining council, they don't negotiate for them terms and conditions of the employment. So now the question is that what is their role within the sector in its own, except to go out there, they close roads, they are saying we are fighting for foreigners not to be employed. We are not saying it is a wrong thing, it is a right thing, but also they need to know that the employers have then taken 10 steps ahead in terms of to make sure that they correct what we go out there and said the employers they are doing. As we said that we've got departments, Department of Labor, Department of Home Affairs, National Bargaining Council. They need to come to work together in terms of the certain legislation, as you know, because we always say we need to be careful if we deal with this issue of sector of road freight. Because you will find many South Africans. I will have to go to Zimbabwe, I have to go to Zambia. What must happen with me speaking Tswana or Zulu or Xhosa when I arrive in that country? Because the minute we close the border, say we don't need them, they can do the same thing. And it happens, these things, at the time where there were a lot of tensions within the sector itself, where some of our members, they were being harassed, some of them, they were been even injured in those countries, because now they will have to revolt and said, we don't need them in our country. So I think it's an issue that need to be dealt with a very serious note. It's an issue that we need to deal with it with care, rather than to do it in this popular stance that we've seen from so-called these associations.
Sure. So the issues, especially in the road freight industry, I think let's zoom in terms of the long distance drivers, the trucks and stuff. Let's start there. What are their challenges in the industry? If you can unpack for us with regards to their challenges.
Yeah, there's a lot of challenges that are faced by the drivers. One is that they are under pressure because this industry has been taken to a point that the employers, they are doing it as it's a competition within the employees itself. Either you will find out that there's a company A, has got so permanent employees, they've got the labor brokers, they've got also this company that is coming outside with those particular employees. It's got almost 3 pillars of different employees coming from different companies, which is also allowed by the road freight sector to say you can bring that particular labor broker as long that you comply with the legislations of the industry. Then now you'll find out the biggest challenge is that some of these employees, majority of them, they don't want to be part of unions because they feel being intimidated. That is where this exploitation comes in, because if you look at this industry driving almost 19,000 kilometers to Cape Town from Johannesburg, it's not just an easy thing because you are sitting. Some of the challenges are healthy issues that our members are facing, because some of them, they will have to eat, they get into a truck, they just move. The hygiene issues, they sleep in these trucks, they are not booked for hotels or B&B and so forth. It's a long hours on the road. It's an issue also of the security that our members they are facing within the industry. As you are aware that there is a lot of incidents in different areas. I call the issue of Cape Towns, in KZNs, where in freeways, on gunpoints, some of the trucks are being hijacked. Just a day ago, incident happened in R21 in Kempton Park. The truck was being hijacked with an alcohol. Thanks to the police, we are told that around 44 people that they were being arrested who were being involved in that kind of an incident. A week ago, incident happened in Moy River, where the truck was being hijacked, people, they looted it. So all of these are the challenges that our members, they have been questioned by employer once the incident happened, to say why this incident happened, why you were not using another route. And remember, the employees, they cannot use certain routes that are not required from where they loaded to where they are going to offload. So these challenges are there, and that is why we are calling upon bargaining council and their agencies to make sure that they press the issue of the compliance through to the employers, because these long hours, they've got a very serious effect in terms of health, in terms of fatigue that is
Exactly. I was going to exactly go to that, Nkokeli, to say that the road carnage that involves such issues in terms of drivers encountering fatigue because of the long hours, accentuating on the issue of safety for these truck drivers. With the rampant crime that is facing this country, you spoke about these truck drivers encountering scenes of being hijacked. Can you expatiate more on that?
Yes. As I said, that this is one of the challenges that are faced by our members, and we have called as DETAWU even to a law enforcement, because there are areas that are hotspot that are known that trucks, they will be hijacking those areas, like in KZN. But we are struggling to get an assistance from the law enforcement,
Sure.
either to deploy police around in those areas, because these hijacks has put the lives of our members in danger. Some of them, they are being even traumatized because they have been hijacked by guns, and some of them, they are losing their belongings while they are being hijacked. It can be a phone, it can be a money, anything that is valuable. These people, they just take it, and it's not compensated back by the employers as and when all of these things happened. So that is why we are saying to DETAWU that the law enforcement need to make sure that this matter is being attended to, because we have seen that in an issue whereby there was an unrest, we saw the police on freeways. We, at some point, even the army was being deployed in certain areas where the trucks, they were being banned and so forth. So why these things are not done now as and when we are calling it? So we also believe that the law enforcement are failing us in that regard.
So the hijacking takes place, an employee has to account to the employer. What generally happens in that particular instant? Is the employer coming forth because it is their business, it is their employees coming forth to have some empathy with regards to what workers are actually going through? Do you find that it does happen, or it's just business as usual?
I will say that it's business as usual, because we believe that these employers, they can do more, even to force the law enforcement to do what they are supposed to do. I will make an example that some of the employers, they are trying, but it's not enough. For an example, they are putting some cameras around the truck. You recall one incident where the employee, the truck was being hijacked, and then they wanted to ban it. The one guy that was being caught, it's because of these cameras that are there. Even though at some point we've got a concern with it as unions, because we believe that it's invading at some instances the privacy of these employees, because it's always on. Remember, as I said, that this truck, it's a home of this employee. You eat there. If you only have to sleep that 3 hours, you'd have to sleep there. If you only have to change, you change there. So some of these trucks don't even have some curtains. So there is a lot of which is becoming a challenge, where the employers, they are ignoring this safety and dignity issues that they need to attend to for our members. But as I said, that the issue of security, it is a very, 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 very serious concern, and we believe that the law enforcement should have do something more in order to assist, because the employees, they are alone there. Even if they are doing so-called is a double driver, which is dual meaning, they cannot do anything, because some of these companies, even if I may have a gun, for an example, I'm not allowed to take the gun into an employer's property and all of that. So at the end of the day, it becomes an issue of that particular individual, as and when he's facing those instances, to see what he can do to make sure that is safe.
Sure. The issue of payment towards these employees, their salaries. And, when we had a discussion beforehand to talk about this issue, there was an issue of the fact that as much as they are being paid according to regulations and legislation, and the road freight is actually there to govern that it actually happens, there's an issue of overtime. And I wanted us to really touch on that. that you see them, the truck drivers going out, in and out, not sleeping, simply because there is this issue of saying that they can be able to get more from overtime and stuff. And how does that work?
I think, first of all, what I like to point out, the Department of Labor need to come into party here in terms of the legislations. Let me make an example with one of the country, which is Botswana. In Botswana, there are certain times where the trucks cannot go. I think from 7 o'clock upwards, the trucks is not allowed to go. In South Africa, the truck can go 24 hours. It's not an issue.
Yes,
So that is where the problem starts. Because if the legislations allow this kind of an exploitations, so the employers will come with so-called, which is allowed in the industry, is that let us introduce some incentive.
Okay.
What is an incentive mean? It means that you will be paid by a kilometer. You will be paid by a load rather than to be paid in overtime. There is a basic, which is a 9 hours.
Okay.
Anything that you're supposed to get from that point, let me say you start at 7 o'clock to 5 o'clock. From 6 o'clock, you are supposed to be paid by an overtime. It's no longer an overtime, it's an incentive, either a load and a kilometer. That is why you've seen those trucks in Mpumalanga for coal, they called it Bomatipana.
Yes.
Those trucks, the way they run, those trucks of containers, it's because these trucks from containers from Johannesburg to Durban to Cape Town, they pick up a load in City Deep, they will have to go to Richards Bay to drop that particular container. Remember, until you drop that container, that is where you start to be paid. Meaning that you can drive after your normal working hours, 6 hours. You are not going to be paid that 6 hours. You will be paid that particular incentive that the employer said, I'm going to pay you. At the minute you drop, they sign the paper, that is where you're having money. If, for an example, you are in Richards Bay, you will have to go through to the queue. It means that you are on the queue. You didn't make money until you drop or you pick up that particular container.
So all these hours that you're driving, all these hours that you are queuing, for you to be able to offload the goods, you're not being paid.
Those hours, as I said,
yes.
How it will be compensated, it will be compensated on the figure that was being not even agreed, what the employer imposed to say, I will pay you as and when we have offloaded that particular container. So those are some of the weaknesses that we are saying we need to have a proper legislation, because the minute there is a proper legislation, it means that these kinds of systems, they will have to fall apart. Then we concentrate on the National Bargaining Council rules and regulations. And that is why, as DETAWU, we are calling to say this thing so-called incentive, it's the one that is created this unconducive environment for our members. Members should be paid by overtime as and when they work it. Then it will limit these long hours of drivings and so forth and so forth. Because the National Road Freight said you cannot work more than 6 hours a day. But where is Bargaining Council? Bargaining Council is not in the truck. He's an employee which is in the truck, which is getting an instruction, who will have to drive. And also, as I said, the same employees who say that I cannot be out of my house for 3 weeks and come back with just 16,000. I will have to make sure that how do I accumulate more and more and more and more. Because as and when I'm out at home, they are expecting something that is better. So for me, it's an issue of a proper legislations from institute like Department of Labor, making sure that they enforce it, these kinds of law, through to certain bargaining council. Because in bargaining council, you know, is an employers in the union, they just negotiate. And at some point when they negotiate this kind and terms and conditions, the employers, because of the national what is so called national laws that are within in the country, it allows them to drive. So if we have a situation like in Botswana, as I said, it will limit in overall what we've seen within the industry.
So, in a nutshell, the employees, they would drive long hours and drop off goods and come back and load and go back and just be incentivized by them dropping off those particular goods.
Yes,
So
outside
that
of their
outside of their working hours. So that means for you to be able to make sure that you cover enough money, you have to go back and forth and be able to drop off whatever it is for you to be compensated for those hours.
Exactly. As I said, even it went further because you recall that in an event like if you ever been in Richards Bay, you'll see the queue of the trucks there in Durban when it goes to Harper. It's a long queue. Sometimes it takes even about 3 kilometers, 4 or 5 kilometers, depending with the number of trucks that are there. So as and when all of this happened, it goes back to say, are these employees really benefiting out of this? They are not benefiting. They are the employers who are benefiting through this kind of the exploitations. As we said, that we can make these rules as much as we can within the industry itself. But as long the national government and Department of Labor not coming into place and said, this is what it needs to happen, which it can eliminate all of what I've already alluded to. So it is an issue. Workers within industry, they have been exploited. They are not earning what has been expected that they're supposed to earn. If you want to earn more, take note that you must not sleep. There is a 9 resting period each and every 24 hours. But as I said, who's monitoring it? Because once the employer said, you must drive, you need money, you will have to drive. If we were having these national regulations, the employers will know that no trucks must drive after 11 or after 12 o'clock. Then the workers will have enough time off to rest.
So, as organized labor, are you really raising these issues strongly and really coming together to say you are employing people? And when you're employing people, there's just certain things that you would have to do as an employer if you really do care about the people that are transporting your cargo. To say, can you guys, even just that the issue of them not being able to have places where they can be able to lay their heads and to rest a bit and wake up and go. You know, they have to sleep in the trucks. They have to change in the trucks. And then have to have this an incentive where they're not incentivized properly. This is serious. How do you now, as organized labor, really take up this issue? Because it's important that people take heed of this.
You know what? I call this is a system. It's a system. That's where it starts. I've been several times quoting the issue of law enforcement comes in, Department of Labor comes in. But as I said, you know that every environment is politically dented, if I may say, in South Africa. Because in some of these big companies, you will be surprised that some of the politicians are directors of this particular
Of these very same companies.
Of these very same companies. You can go and make your own research. You'll come and tell me next time to say, I've seen that company A and company A, Mr. So-and-so and Madam so-and-so, they are involved. Same thing that you experience in mines. Politicians are involved. So one of the unions was very hard on in terms of to say workers must earn 12,000, you see, because they are earning nothing. May his soul rest in peace in Marikana. Those are kinds of the things that we are facing to say the system, the way it's corrupt, it gives even at some point these employers powers to do these exploitations because they know that as unions, we can say whatever we can say up until workers, they can go out, same as they did in 2009, because that is where this industry of road trade was being transformed. If you recall back in 2006, the strike of the security sector that shaping the economy, change the mindset of the lot of people. That is where the employer started to listen. That is where the government has started to pay the attention into a sector. Today we've got the bargaining council of the security. It was through that effort that was being made at the time. So same thing applies. We need to defeat the system the one way or the other. The workers within the industry need to stand up, because I always tell the workers to say, I cannot do it all for you as a union official. I can only guide you in terms of the act to say this is what you can do, this is what you cannot do. But workers, one of the things is that they have subjected themselves in this system because they are saying that is the only option that can make us to have more money, which is give more challenge to us as unions to say it means we are not doing it enough in terms of these things of the basic salary of the workers within industry. Because if you look at this industry, the way it is, we should have said it's one of the highest paid industry within the country, but it's not. It's not employees. It's hard even to have a bond. It's hard even to pay for the car. If you take one, you must know that you cannot get another one. So it's become a matter of your choice to say what do you prioritize. But at the end of the day, as I said, is that the workers are struggling. We will need to do more as a labor unions collectively, because it cannot be a union A in the absence of the another union. That is kind of the unit that we are preaching as DETAWU, to say, let us come together and do something about what we've seen within this industry.
So health-wise, health issues in the industry. They're traveling long hours, they're not sleeping, hygiene issues, there's health issues, and things happen whilst you travel as well. My leadership, how is it in terms of that aspect, the health issues in especially when it comes to truck drivers?
It's a very, very serious issue in terms of health. As we said, that you must eat while you're sitting, even while you're driving. The food is not digesting in terms of the health system. You look at the issue of the hygiene, as I said. If you go to one truck stop now, you check in a period of 24 hours how many trucks arrives there, you will be shocked. Go to N3, go to Villas, the first truck stop, you will see all of these workers, they are using these 6 or 5 showers that are there. If you go out, I must come in and bath. You go out, I must come in and bath. Then you will tell me to say, where's the hygiene there? If that particular worker get that chance to do that, because it's not a privilege. You might sit there almost a day, 2 days without even getting that bath. If you go to some of these truck stops, you'll find they're telling you there is no water. So now you'll have to see another way. So healthy issues, hygiene issues are the very serious issues, because even in some of these truck stops, it's not safe. A truck driver will park a truck when he wakes up in the morning, there is no tire, there is no battery. Then they will have to pay. But it's the same truck stop where the employer said is a safe one. You must go to that.
Who has to pay? The employee.
It's an employee. Is an employee. Employee would be made liable to pay such, because the employer is saying it's part of your responsibility to make sure that the cargo and the truck is safe. So these are kind of issues that we are saying. These issues has arrived to a point whereby our members, we can no longer turn a blind eye on it and said, no, these issues can be just rectified on the table. We have sat on the table with an employers on daily basis. talking about these issues, the employers, they are not willing to budge. The only thing that they've got an interest into it is a profit. How do I make more money? As I said that when I was talking about the issues of load, to offload and come back, offload and come back, they don't care about you as an employee, yourself with your family, and so forth. As you know that these things are not only affecting members, it affects the entire family, because if I'm a father of the house, I'm not there for 3 weeks. You look those who are going in cross-border, at some point, sometimes 45 days, 56 days, the employee is not at home. You will have to come back 3 days, then after that, you will have to leave. So you don't have that bonding with your family. You don't have a chance to see your children's going, give them rules and so forth. So this thing, it's affect even their moral and so forth. So it's a matter that as a union, as I said, and I'll keep on repeating this to say, we need to come up with a plan, but we cannot win it alone as a labor unions. Government must come in with the legislations that is going to assist.
Transformation in the road freight industry. How is it? Is it happening fast enough? Are there new companies that are black owned coming into the fore? And when they are coming to the fore, what structure is there to enable that, they contribute towards this 46% contribution of this economy? As organized labor, are you seeing that there's transformation imperatives that are finding expression within the industry itself?
That is a very difficult question, because if I may sit here and confirm that there is a transformation, transformation is a transformation in terms of weight. And at some point I said, it depends to say who must be transformed. Because you will see a black-owned company A, because it's a cousin of Praisewell. Praisewell is a politician and is a director in that particular company. So the same transformation is not the same transformation that we expect as a labor. But we've seen these things happening. Some of it, we challenge it internally within the different companies. That is where we start to know, to say, oh, this company is a company of Mr. So and so forth. The other challenge is that there is a fronting within this industry, where you'll see Nsibande Logistics, in the face is Nsibande Logistics, at the back is Mr. So, who's got nothing to do with the issue of a transformation per se, but is using Mr. Nsibande Logistics in order to make sure that they obtain the profit. So that is another challenge that we are facing, because you will look at even this thing on a Korea side.
Yes.
On the Korea side, you'll find they call it's an owner drive.
Okay.
Those small buggies, but it's written the name of the certain company. But when you zoom it and check to say, Praisewell, are you owning this particular car? The answer is no. The only thing that is happening there, the employer, they are saying, we are not going to employ you. We'll give you 200,000 a month. You sign that contract. First of all, you don't know nothing about the business. You were not been taken to any platform where you can understand. They just went into a retrenchment and said, we are no longer interested. Those who want opportunity comes in. When you come in here, you are still taking instruction from the same manager that you used to take from. You are given certain routes. Because when they do this, they don't take the entire business. They take those areas where they know it's a problematic route. Either it's because of the issue of safety, as I was saying, the trucks have been hijacked and all of that. And at the minute you come in, you take that particular contract because they are saying it's an owner driver. You will do the work, come month end. Month end, they start to tell you there's a money for diesel, there's a money for tire, there's a money for service and so forth and so forth. You'll end up sitting with the same or even less what you used to earn before while you were employed by that particular company. So that is why we are saying this transformation is not a transformation that is actually helping these employees, but it's part of, again, the exploitation that we're seeing that is happening within the industry itself.
So, as an example, Nkokeli, are you saying that Cindy works in a particular company, and as part of empowerment and introducing Cindy to the industry or the sector itself, Cindy is given a particular so-called contract? Part of in part of that business.
Yes.
And then they're saying that, Cindy, you'll own your own business.
Yes.
And we are going to be giving you a car.
Yes.
And therefore you're going to be starting to having your own business, transport business.
Yes.
Meanwhile,
you don't own that car.
You don't own that car.
Because it's just in that I'm driving it. When I have to go to home, I go with it. No one is questioning me. But the cost behind it is coming from your pocket at the end of the month, when you're supposed to get that particular payment. So that is how this thing has been done in this industry. And that is why we are saying the manner in which the industry, because the employer, they no longer want to take this responsibility. Because remember, in this industry, when you are an employee, the employer must pay your leave, your sick leave, your bonuses, your provident fund, your UIF. So there are all of these statutory monetary that the employer needs to pay for you. So the minute they introduce you to this system, the more painful thing is that once you went to that particular process, remember, you are no longer an employee. It will be hard for you to go on leave. There is no leave for you. If you're sick, there is no money coming in. The wheel is not turning. So this is kind of the situation where the employees, they find themselves into, in this so-called is an owner driver, which is not an owner driver. It's just a system to continue to exploit employees within the industry.
Sure. You know, there's a lot that we still need to unpack. I think we just touched a little drop in the ocean in terms of the issues that are there. We still need to go further. There's a lot. I still need to go to the CIT industry. I think yes. I think in that one there's a lot that we actually need to unpack and discuss as well. But I just needed your parting shot as we close off this discussion. Where do you see the future of this industry going with these challenges, comrade?
Yeah, the future is there for me, as we said in the opening, that the economy of this country rely on road. You can have so-called rail, as you know, that there's interventions within the rail sector that they need to be in, even the private sector and all of that. But the main sector that can render the service quicker and effective is road freight. The only thing that is need to be done, as I said, we need government to come in order to assist in terms of the legislation. As I was saying, that if you look at the issue of this foreign employment, it's an issue that we can deal with it if we work closer with the government and make a proper legislations, because all of these other pillars, the bargaining council and the employers, will have to follow within those legislations.
Sure.
So government is the main in this, to come in and assist us. We can sit and negotiate as a union, but you must also remember that there are certain legislations that are need to be done in a form of government level, Department of Transport and so forth. As I said, for an example of the one that when and how should the trucks move on the road, because we can't have trucks that are moving 24 hours by one man in the truck. Because even if there are two for that matter, you'll find out it's Praisewell and myself, we are driving this truck. We are sharing 24 hours, meaning that you'll drive your 12 hours. I'm behind the seat. I don't want to call it a bed. I'm behind the seat in that small space. They are saying I'm sleeping, I'm resting. The truck is moving, there's a motion, there's all of that. When you are done with your 12 hours, we rotate, you come in. So you see all of that, it tells you to say, this sector is being needed to our economy. The only thing which is need to be done, it is proper legislation and done it correctly, because the current legislations are not assisting us to fight the core of the problems that we are fighting, because of this another pillar, which is government, is not part of these legislations.
On that note, my comrade, my leadership, I wish to thank you, as well as the team for the Forum of Marginalized Industries, for actually taking the time to actually unpack this industry. I think the more we delve deeper into these issues, there's need to actually create awareness or education, because a lot of people, we just see trucks going up and down. We don't even know what is happening. We don't even know what the employees are actually going through, and the employers as well. So I think it is important that we have forums such as these for us to be able to actually, explore more with regards to these particular issues. So I would like to thank you, my comrades. I'd love to thank you for making the time. And we're hoping that the next time you'll be able to come through as well, so that you can be able to look at other issues. Thank you, Com. Thank you very much. So in the interest of everybody who is joining us, we would like to also thank you and ask you to please share, to like, and subscribe. And we'll see you next time as part of the Forum for Marginalized Industries. We thank you.